Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the BricksCascade Broadcast Network, and happy Jurassic Park 30th anniversary. And for those of you who may be new to the BricksCascade Broadcast Network, I'm Naomi. I'm based in Vancouver, Washington, and I'm all dressed up with all my swag here because it is an amazing day today. Can you believe that Jurassic Park, the film, came out 30 years ago today? And some people were asking me, why did I call it a Jubilee? Because technically the Jubilees only happen on the 25th and the 40th, I think, and the 50th. And I said, well, 30 years deserves a Jubilee as well. Plus my guests that are with me today, I did not know them 5 years ago. So we couldn't have had a regular 25th Jubilee, but we're having a 30th Jubilee. And I'm really excited because we have some really cool content that we're going to be displaying today. And another one of my friends here that's been on the show before, please help me welcome Tom Kukkonen from True North Bricks. How's it going, Tom?
Pretty good. How are you?
Happy anniversary.
Absolutely.
I see you're all dressed up in the swag too.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I've got a closet full of Jurassic Park t-shirts. So.
Well, I'm also wanted to congratulate you because right behind you, you have a mock you just finished in time for the 30th anniversary. So why don't you share with our viewers a little bit about that?
So that is my huge Jurassic Park logo. So I've spent about a year designing that. So I started on Studio. Mm-hmm. And I made a digital copy of it first. And then gradually over the last year, I have been collecting the parts I needed and slowly putting it together plate by plate. And right now it's done. You know, it's got the frame
beautiful
and everything. And it's like 140 centimeters or something like that across, and 80 centimeters high. So it's pretty big. It's bigger than the world map. So I used 48.
Oh, it's bigger than the world map. Wow.
Yeah, bigger. So the world map is 40 of those 16 by 16 part plates, and mine is 48 plus 2 rows at the bottom.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty big. It was a big undertaking, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.
It's amazing. And you're truly, I didn't realize that you were a Jurassic Park fan until like a couple months ago. And we were talking, and I said, you have to come to BricksCascade because we have this amazing collaborative mock, and you would absolutely love it. But I think you missed it by a couple weeks, right? You were there in February or early March.
Yeah, I was there in February, or I was in Oregon in February, and it wasn't meant to be this year, but maybe some other year. It's a bit far for me to travel out there, but we'll see.
Well, I hope you can coordinate your schedule so you can come see it, because this is how I met my next guest, who is also in the BricksCascade collab of Jurassic Park. And I just got to know him about a month ago since we were collaborating on Jurassic Park. So please help me welcome to the stream, Mark Kerbel. How's it going, Mark?
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Good to see you again.
Welcome. And I am still amazed at the volcano that you brought to the Jurassic Park build. And we're going to talk more about your build in a little bit. But I know that I've only gotten to know you because we're both working on the collab over the last month. And one of the things you had mentioned to me when we were getting interviewed by the Beyond the Brick crew is I had a coffee cup in my hand at the time. And you said, just hold on to the coffee cup. It's kind of like you were in the lab and you're having coffee, and then now ththese guys came to interview you. And I actually got this. So then next time I will have this when they interview us. So I have you and Kai to thank for that, because I thought it was hilarious. I was going to put my cup down. You go, no, just hold on to it. It's hilarious.
You looked perfect. You did great.
Well, great. Well, can you introduce us to, or introduce yourself to the chat? So then that way they get to know you a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Mark Kerbel. I I'm an AFOL, of course, as most of us are. I kind of came out of my dark ages back in 2015 after the Lego movie came out. I went to BricksCascade the next year and just kind of went hard after that. I call it kind of my midlife crisis. I'm not that old, but it was severe. Called a midlife crisis. So as you can see in the room around me, right? Like I went pretty hard. So
Yeah. So you
yeah.
said you've been an AFOL for only since the pandemic, or when did you start really getting into the hobby?
It was like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
I went pretty hard, picked up a bunch of the modulars and all that stuff. And I played with Legos ever since I was a kid. It was a huge part of my childhood, and then kind of just slipped away like some of us do, you know, getting busy with other things and work. And I did have like some cars stuff, you know, I did that for a while. So, but I came back to it pretty hard, and I'm big into the minifigs, like modulars, kind of city landscape type stuff. So that's kind of what I like to do.
And we have some really cool photos of some of the mocks that you've done. And I know that when I saw your volcano, because I've been with the collab for 2 years now. And then last year we didn't have the volcano, and you brought this massive volcano, and it had the smoke effects, it had the sound, and you put your whole heart into that. And I was just really thankful that you did that, because we ended up getting the People's Choice Award.
Yeah, awesome.
Super cool. And you also won another award too, right? For the Jurassic Park theme.
Yeah. The Don't Get Cheap on Me Dodgson one.
That's right. Don't get cheap on me, Dodgson. Right. Because you spared no expense. And when we go through how you built it, it was pretty massive. So yeah. So kudos to you for that. And I'm sure Lego really appreciates you investing so much. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off today by having Tom review, because it's the 30th anniversary. There's 5, I think, new sets that just was released by Lego. So we're going to give Tom the floor first and let him take it away. So here you go, Tom.
All right. So, well, full disclosure, Lego actually sent me these sets to review. So I've already written up reviews for them over on my blog. But there's 5 new sets. One of them is a 4+ set. So this is Velociraptor Escape. Right. I doubt that this is going to appeal to very many adult collectors. But
does it have any cool minifigs in there?
It does, actually. So this is the first time. I don't know how well you can see him there.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the first time that we get a Robert Muldoon minifigure.
Oh.
So he's never been in a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World.
Well, people will buy it for that.
Before. Well, I mean, you can get them on Bricklink, right? So I don't know if people will buy the whole set. But you also get the new color of Raptor. And that's, I like the coloring on this. You can get this Raptor in 2 sets in this wave. So it also comes with the visitor center. Right. But I like it because it's a little bit more true to the original movie, right? With the color scheme instead of those bright blues and greens that we've seen in the Jurassic World theme lately. So, I mean, that's kind of the highlight of this set. Otherwise, there's really not much to it, right? It's big, chunky pieces for little kids to build with.
And no stickers.
There are stickers.
Right?
Oh, no.
There are?
Tiles. I lied.
I was going to say, most 4+ sets will not have the stickers.
Yeah. So you've got the Jurassic Park logo there. And you've got like a... I really actually like this now that you mention it. I was going to put this set away and talk about another one, but it comes with this like little computer.
Oh, nice.
The computer actually has a raptor and like a
2x2 slope.
Yeah, it's got like a little, where is this raptor in the park type of thing going on the screen. So yeah, that was kind of neat with that.
How much does this retail for?
Oh, I don't remember.
It's okay. Sorry to put you on the spot. I can tell you it is not $19.99 because the Dilophosaurus ambush is the one, because that's the only set that qualifies for Thrifty Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's more than that. I want to say it's probably $29.99 or
I think it's more than that.
$34.99.
It's very expensive. The value is actually pretty terrible for any 4+ set because you're paying for those huge chunky pieces that no other set really uses. But if I just, I think I've got it here on my phone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
It's $39.99 in the US. It's $49.99 here in Canada. Yeah.
Wow, that is expensive.
It's it's not a cheap set at all.
Wow.
But again, it's the only one that comes with Robert Muldoon, right? So if you're a huge Jurassic Park fan, then maybe that makes it worth it.
Right.
This was actually, the next one was actually my favorite in the the series. So
I have that set.
Yeah, this is the
I'm
one.
gonna be building that on Thursday.
Yeah. So this is actually the best value set in the whole series, and that's one of the reasons why it's my favorite, because it's full of awesome Easter eggs from the movie. So you get that East Dock sign, right?
Yes.
So it easily knocks over, so the car can hit it. The little arrow spins just like in the movie.
Oh yeah.
You've also got a little can of shaving cream there, and they use the white frog, right?
For whipped cream, or not whipped cream, shaving cream.
Shaving cream, which is really awesome. And Dennis Nedry has a great double-sided face, right? He's got the normal face on one side, and then he's got it splattered with like blue venom on the other, which is pretty cool. So I really liked it. But while we're on the topic of the frog, the white frog in this set, every single one of the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary sets has a frog, and I absolutely loved that, because that's a huge Easter egg for Jurassic Park fans, because the frog DNA was used to clone the dinosaurs, right, to fill in the sequence gaps. So yeah, I loved that there was a frog in every single set. You got to look for them, but they are
So
there.
Which one was in the 4+ set?
It's just a regular frog sitting on the fence in the 4+.
Oh, okay.
So
the green frog.
The green frog right there.
Okay.
So they got a little bit more creative with the Dennis Nedry set. But you also get the Jeep. So
nice.
This is one of 2 sets that has the Jeep. So they're a little bit different. This one, it looks like it's got the cover, the rag top there pulled over. And the other one is open.
This one has stickers
on this.
We have a guy in our collab, Ferg, who already built the Jeep on his own as a mock. And then he says, now I have the stickers. Now he's going to put those stickers on so that it looks more legit.
Yeah. So the stickers are nice. This one, you build it a little bit differently from the one that comes in the Brachiosaurus set, because there's like these brown pieces on it to make it look like it's splashed with mud. And on one side there, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's like a Dilophosaurus footprint.
Oh.
On the side of the car.
Oh, that's a great little detail.
Yeah. So I really liked it. That's probably my favorite set in this series. But then, there's a couple of other really good ones too. So there's the Triceratops research.
Yes.
So this is, I think, the first time that the Lego group has ever built a pile of poo.
I built one of those last year for the collab. I had 2 of those and then I even had one from a sick dinosaur and one from a healthy dinosaur. So because they talk about that in the movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually a little bit inaccurate though, if you're a hardcore fan of Jurassic Park, because the top of the pile comes off, and inside there's an empty space where you put berries. But if you are a true big, huge fan of Jurassic Park and you geek out over this, you know that Ellie doesn't actually find the berries in the pile of poo. She says at one point that you're right, there's no trace of lilac berries. So, they really shouldn't be in there, but that's just...
Now, the thing is the scale correct? Because is it the same or taller than the Jeff Goldblum minifig?
Well, there is the pile of crap. And there is the Jeff Goldblum minifigure.
Okay.
So, and
And
there's the
he's got a
frog, by the
shovel.
way.
There's a brown frog on top. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So
That's funny.
that's the, and of course you get this, right? So that's a huge highlight for a lot of people. And if you collect the Jurassic World sets and you have from the previous wave from a year ago when they released the T-Rex breakout set, the 18 plus set,
right?
This is the crushed car from that set.
Oh,
so that set, the crushed car has number 4 on it, right? And this one has the number 4 sticker too. So now you have the uncrushed version and you have the crushed version. If you're
collect them all, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, and you get the pile of poop to go with it.
Absolutely. And of course, Ellie Sattler also comes in this set, but this whole wave has a little bit of Ellie Sattler overload.
Oh, really?
She's there's 5 sets and she's in 4 of them.
Oh,
right.
Okay. Laura Dern must be happy.
Yeah, and I get why they did it because she's pretty much the only like major female character. I mean, there's Lex, but Lex is a kid, right? So she's the only adult female character in the movie. So I guess that's why they opted to do that. But yeah, 4 sets come with Ellie Sattler. So by the end, you're kind of like, wow, another Ellie.
Really? Can we have more Ellies? And ahoy, hoy, hooded one. Good to see you. And happy Sunday to you too, Brick Jedi. Thanks for joining us. And we're going through some of the reviews of the latest sets coming out of the Jurassic Park line. So we have Tom Kekkonen, who's a recognized Lego fan media site, and the True North Bricks. So that looks good. Which is you said your favorite so far is the Dilophosaurus ambush, right?
Yeah, actually, if I look back on it, I would say that the Dilophosaurus ambush is probably my favorite set out of all 5, simply because it's got so many little Easter eggs in it for such a small set.
Yeah.
The car looks great and the price is good. Right.
And it's got a Barbasol can in there.
Yeah, that's another one of those really fun details. So it's really the only set that's a good value, in my opinion, from this theme. Otherwise, the cost per brick is really high on a lot of those sets. So I think in the States, the Dilophosaurus set is like $20 or something.
Yeah, it's $19.99 because it qualifies for Thrifty Thursday. So for those of you watching, then we will be building this set, Dilophosaurus attack. Oops, got it the backside. There we go. The Dilophosaurus ambush set. It's actually a pretty chunky box, surprisingly, for a $20 set.
Yep. But yeah, so it's the only one that's got a decent cost per brick, in my opinion. The other ones are all really expensive because you're paying the licensing fees for Jurassic Park and you're paying the licensing fees for Ford Explorer and Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, that's why.
And
okay, because of the Jeeps.
Yeah, you've got those huge dinosaur pieces too that no other theme uses, so they can't spread the cost out over multiple themes and sets. So Jurassic World is always an expensive theme, really right? But that Dilophosaurus is good value.
It's the 30th anniversary, though, so time to splurge.
Yeah.
We have a guy in our collab, Bob, who provides all the dinosaurs for our collab. So we're always joking with him that he's also raising the cost per dinosaur on BrickLink because he's buying up all of the dinosaurs for our collab. So that's why it's kind of like if you need to get any of these, you need to buy them now. If you really want like that Velociraptor you said with the special coloring, you probably should go get it before Bob gets to it on BrickLink.
Well, it's always good advice if you want to build a Jurassic Park or do a collaboration like you guys did. It's always good advice to buy the dinosaur sets or any animal sets, like the city animal sets, for example, this summer with like the killer whale and stuff like that. It's always better to buy them when they're out on the market because the prices for those things, they just skyrocket once the set retires, and they become really kind of unaffordable for a lot of people to get.
Right.
So I always, even if I don't really like the set, I tend to buy them when they're out just for the animals and dinosaurs so that I don't have to pay those prices later. And I actually have 2 of these. right? So this is the empty box that that Lego sent me that I've already reviewed. But yesterday I went to the Lego store for double VIP points, and I bought another one because I want one Brachiosaurus. So I can start my little herd. I'm sure that they'll re-release this mold at some point in a different color, so I'll get another one then. Right. But I want at least 2 now so that my Brachiosaurus isn't lonely, you know, when I start my park.
So thoughtful. You don't want to have a lonely Lego Brontosaurus.
Brachiosaurus.
I'm sorry, Brachiosaurus. So, Mark, do you have any of these sets or any of these on your radar right now?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be getting them. It's funny, I actually talked to Bob yesterday. We had our big barbecue summer thing, and he said he's going to try and get 12 of those for a nice good herd. So, but yeah, I'm planning to get all those for sure. I'll probably get multiples, like you said, Tom. Like I'm with you. Like I was lucky enough to pick up a whole bunch of like the elephants from last year's city sets, and so I have a whole safari ready to go at some point.
Wow.
So. Oh yeah, me too. I picked up a bunch of those elephant sets, and there was that friend set with a giraffe. I found a bunch of those on liquidation. I picked a few of those up too. So I've got elephants, giraffes, lions, all sorts of
a regular zoo going on. And we have a couple of people from the Netherlands in the chat too. Axel Plate is here. Hey, Axel. Goede avond, Brickenista and guests. Good. I'm guessing that's good afternoon. Good, because it sounds like I was talking with him about German. I speak a little bit of German, and Guten Abend is German for good afternoon. So I'm guessing Gute Avond. So, and we have Axel, meet a hooded one, because you're both kind of like neighbors. So welcome to the stream. All right. So Tom was on the next set. So this is, what's the name of this set?
This is the Brachiosaurus Discovery.
Okay.
So I'm just going to look up how much this one is in the States. I know it's $100 here. Canada.
It's $79.99.
Yeah, so about $80 then in the US. I think it's worth it because you get that Brachiosaurus. So there's a kind of a look at. So it doesn't have much.
The coloring of this.
Yeah, it doesn't have much articulation. The legs don't move at all, but you can move the neck and you can move the head a bit, and the tail turns, I guess, a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And of course the jaw, so you can open the mouth.
Right.
But yeah, the legs don't move. So it's kind of like the woolly mammoth from the City Line a few years ago, where it just kind of stands there. But
right.
I mean, it's still a Brachiosaurus, and it's our first one. So
that's why you said you have to have 2, so it isn't lonely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you needed to do is to just stand there. It looks great, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then you get the other version of the Jeep, right? So this is the open one. I like this Jeep actually a little bit more than the one in Dilophosaurus Ambush. I think it looks a little bit more like a Jeep without the brick-built roof over it.
Right.
I think that's kind of a personal thing. I'm sure there are people out there who will love the Dilophosaurus one a little bit more, but otherwise they're pretty much exactly the same. It's just this roof structure that's built different, and this one doesn't have the brown mud staining that the other one does.
Right. Well, it goes back to that print on the face about Nedry.
Yeah.
I just love that face print on there.
Yeah, Nedry is a great character in this, and we've only ever gotten Nedry before in one set. So he was in that huge T-Rex Rampage set a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
And then there was like Nedry's nephew or something that came out in some of the Jurassic World sets, and he basically looked exactly like Nedry, but he wasn't officially Dennis Nedry.
Nedry's nephew, was he actually in a film?
No, he was in the Lego Jurassic World. Like they did a short movie or season of a few episodes. Okay. And he was in that. So he's not officially Jurassic Park canon. He's like just a character made for the Lego sets, right?
Okay. And Hooded One suggests that Lego should make more brick-built dinosaurs. And I agree with you, because they do that all the time with Ninjago when they do all those dragons. It really wouldn't be that much of a stretch to do a brick-built dinosaur. They may not be able to because it might be of their agreement with Jurassic Park intellectual property is my guess.
Well, I mean, if you think about the T-Rex Rampage set with the huge brick-built T-Rex, that one it's pretty hard to build. So if you want to market the Jurassic World line to kids, I don't think you can have too many brick-built dinosaurs like that, because I think they look bad on a small scale. Like the brick-built T-Rex from T-Rex Escape last year, I really didn't like it. Like I kind of wish that set had come with the T-Rex figurine.
The molded one?
Yeah, that might be a bit of an unpopular opinion with some people, but I thought that the T-Rex looked really derpy in that Escape set. So there's like a certain level, like a certain size that you can't go below if you don't want to lose detail. And they need to be pretty huge, I think, to have brick-built dinosaurs. Like Brachiosaurus might work on that scale, but like a Dilophosaurus wouldn't, I don't think. So
we have one more?
Yep, one more. So that's the visitor center. This was a bit of a flop, in my opinion. Like Jurassic Park fans have been looking forward to a visitor center set for so long. There's been a couple of really nice ones that have appeared on Lego Ideas that never got produced. And then for the 30th anniversary, instead of giving us like one of those UCS style 18 plus sets, we get this.
I think Mark and I can tell you that we've had some chat in our Discord server, and pretty much the guy who I think built ours is James Ritzman, who did an amazing job with all the detail of the visitor center. And I think there's also been comments out on the web where somebody said, we asked Lego for the visitor center and this is what we got, but this is what we wanted. And they actually had James's photo of his mock. So I think we all agree that this is not up to snuff.
Yeah, it's your classic comparison of like expectations, reality. Right?
Yeah. And Hooded One says, I agree with you, Tom, about bigger build for brick building is better.
Yeah. So anyway, this set here, I mean, you get that Raptor again. So it's the same Raptor from the 4+ set. You got a T-Rex that's pretty similar to the last couple of T-Rexes that we've seen. So it's not a huge draw for people to want to buy this set to get two dinosaurs that, we've seen several times before. But the T-Rex does come with battle scarring, which was kind of neat. So it looks like it's been attacked by a raptor.
I think that's hilarious when you say a dinosaur has battle scarring.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's there on his side.
Oh, okay.
So, and he's got some more on the back of his head.
Wow.
So, but yeah, the color is very similar to two T-Rexes that I already have. So, like, that wasn't a huge draw. You do get Ray Arnold, so Samuel L. Jackson's character, and
nice.
Dr. Wu in this set. So we've gotten a lot of Dr. Wu's through Jurassic World, but the Arnold character has only ever been, again, in that T-Rex Rampage set, the huge gates. So,
are his arms intact?
His arms are intact. But I wrote in my review that this is because in the previous time we got Arnold, he was, in his lab coat with his tie done up and looking all spiffy and everything. And in this one, he's got his tie undone. So he looks like shit's hit the fan already, right? Yeah. So that's probably one of the highlights of this. The character selection was really good in this set. You get that when dinosaurs ruled the earth banner, which is fun. So this visitor center is a parts box for me. Like, I'm going to take it apart, but it comes with neat things that I can use if I want to build my own visitor center. Yeah. So, but otherwise, it's my least favorite set in the wave, and it's actually one of my least favorite Jurassic Lego sets ever.
Ever? So, wow, that's a bold statement.
Yeah,
and
it's just not very nice.
Our Toy World says hello, by the way. We're built low. So you've been a reviewer now for Lego, for the recognized Lego fan media, for how long? 2 years, 3 years?
No, I 4 years, 5 years, 4 or 5 years at this point, something like that. So it's been a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that, because I know that I've only picked up the $20 sets. I think the other one that I've got multiples of are the lab set that Dr. Wu was in, the baby dinosaur breakout one, which because it also had the baby dinosaurs. It had the little with Triceratops, or I think, and the ankylosaur. And it was like, okay, I got to get baby dinosaurs. That's fun. Well, I'm super, super excited. Now, if you were to say, besides the Dilophosaurus attack, is there, and did you mention the frogs that were in the other ones? I know you mentioned the brown frog, the green frog, the white frog. What were the other two frogs?
In the Brachiosaurus set, there's like a coral colored frog on the tree trunk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's like it kind of blends in with the flowers there.
A coral colored frog.
And then in the visitor center, it's kind of chunky to pick up, but the visitor center, if you look at like the dessert table, there's a pink frog.
Oh, is it lavender?
It looked kind of lavender on the screen here, but it is
pink.
actually pink. And
I'm sure they have a plethora of pink frogs from that. What was it? The bonsai tree?
Bonsai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same color as the bonsai.
Okay, then it's pink.
That banner does look pretty good. It's pretty wide too. I like that.
Yeah.
That's
so.
Like you were saying, like if you make your own set, that's a good size for like the inside. If you're gonna recreate that, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does give you some ideas. So like where is it? I do like the incubator for the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
That was a neat design. And you can't really see, but like inside, where is it there? You've got like those windows from the restaurant.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's cool.
Okay.
So those are stickers, but they're really great if you're building your own Jurassic Park, because you can make it look. You can make those windows in the restaurant look like the ones in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and the roof parts. The roof parts are it's all falling apart as I'm handling it here. But the roof parts, this color is only available in this set for these pieces.
Oh, really?
So there's similar colors to this in like Pirates of Barracuda Bay and sets like that, where it's like a beach.
Right.
But
The
this
tan
particular
color,
shade is only available in this set. So if you want to make your roof consistently one color like this, you actually have to buy multiples of these in order to create the full, circle.
Or just stick with tan, like I think James Ritzman did.
Yeah, but again, like I was looking these up on BrickLink to see how rare this particular piece was, and even the tan ones, they're only in 1 or 2 sets. So buying them on BrickLink is not going to be really that cheap. It's not going to be any cheaper than buying these ones, right? Because you don't get them in very many kits. But yeah, so that's the visitor center.
Well, thank you so much for going through all of those sets. And Hooded One says that he's disappointed that there's no new colors for the frogs. He's used to seeing all those colors. I don't think I've seen the white frog. Well, no, I guess the white frog, was that also in the bonsai set too?
I don't remember. I have seen a white frog.
Or maybe it's in
before.
the orchid. It might have been in the orchid set.
But the one that was new for me was the coral frog. I had never seen a coral frog before. I don't know if other people out there have, but the coral frog was a new one for me at least.
Well, great. Well, thank you again for doing that review. That was dynamite. I was talking to Tom when I posted my Instagram story about the dynamite link. I said, is that really corny? He goes, I think it's funny. And he goes, but then again, people say that my jokes are kind of corny. So there you go. So, Mark, thank you so much for also being on the show today. And for those of you who just joined us, Mark Kerbel here. He's in the Portland area in Tigard, and I met him through the BricksCascade collaboration. And you just joined this year. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the collab?
Yeah, I think I'm the rookie guy on the team this year. Swinging for the fences, I guess, to go with that analogy.
Yes, you did.
I've built mountains in the past, and we'll probably get into a little bit of that here in a little bit. But we were just chatting after the show last year, not the one that just happened, but the year previous, and was like, what if we did some bigger landscape stuff for the collab, right? Because I want to say it's like close to 500 base plates now. Keep me honest, Naomi, but
it's just under 500, yeah.
But a lot of it's flat, right? And so, like, let's get some.
We had to put a backdrop behind the collab. I think last year, or the year before, because it made it look more like it had terrain, but it was mostly flat. You're absolutely right.
Right. So myself, another guy, Andrew, did a few little mountains, Daryl with his waterfall. So everything kind of became 3D this year, I think, and my volcano was massive as intended. And I think everyone appreciated it and what I was able to bring. So I was glad that
it was amazing.
It worked out. And I don't know, I think I maybe finally found my niche in Legos of just,
you're Lego the mountain man. That's what I call you.
Yeah. I can build mountains, and I get compliments all the time. And so I'll run with it. That's what I do.
Right. And I have a little bit of a slide deck to share with people. And I was testing this before, so hopefully this is going to work. And just so you know, I can't see the chat. So Tom is going to relay the chat, because when I start sharing the screen, I don't see anything but my PowerPoint. So thank you, Tom, for doing that for us. And I will say that when I saw your mountains, I was just like, I saw it last year. Okay, so let me put this in full screen mode. People can see this. Builder Insights with Mark Kerbel. His mountains rock. So here's one of your mocks that is, I think, part of a dilapidated haunted house. Is that right? In the upper right corner there?
Yeah, it was kind of just called the Old Forest, and this was my first mock coming out of my Dark Ages. Obviously, I'm using the haunted house, so it wasn't all mine, of course, but took my hand at doing some kind of landscape. And this was back in 2015, I believe, or 2016 at BrickCon. So I did BricksCascade and BrickCon that year. I went up with James to that show. It was a lot of fun. But really, this was just kind of my first foray into trying to do something. And I wanted to use all Lego, but unique and obscure color set, obviously, right? Like the tan fronds of leaves and all the dark tan bushes, which are now like crazy expensive on Bricklink. And using the old Wild West base plates, right? So both the river there.
Oh, okay.
From the Wild West, where it's just like 1 or 2 sets. And I bought a whole bunch of them. I think there's like 14 or 15 there, and just curved it through. I was like, oh, this looks really good. Not wanting to like brick build roads or whatever. And I'd probably want to do that now with mills or whatever. But for my first try, it was a lot of fun to try and just see what this was about and integrate like one of my favorite sets. The haunted house was the first set I bought coming out of my Dark Ages. So I love haunted house stuff. Yeah.
Even from this, you can see the height that you have with your mountain on the left there, that you're already scaling much taller than what Lego does for their standard homes. Yeah.
The funny thing about this is at the time I was living in a 450 square foot apartment.
What?
This was the size of, like, the kitchen was the biggest part. It was a weird thing, but this was the big island right next to the stove. So it was shaped as an L. So I just maximized my 13 square feet or whatever it was.
Wow.
So it was a lot of fun.
Well, you do have that gift as well, because I saw you packing the volcano into your Mazda. And you said, oh, yeah, I've just got every piece set up, and you just make it like a little Tetris puzzle, which is great.
So then, this is my second foray into mountain building, and I definitely upscaled. I was trying to remember. They're right next to me. my mountains are literally right off camera here. I'll just show you. So they just sit next to me in this room, my Lego room. Anyway, I think it's 6 base plates by 4 base plates deep, right? And so I went super hard on this one too. The goal was I had just got in my new house, moved out of that tiny apartment with my wife, right? And so now I had a dedicated Lego room before we had any kids. And I wanted to build something that I could use for multiple different scenes. And so in the picture on the left, you can see there's a train tunnel going through it. And the picture on the right, you can see I have a cap on that end there, right? So I've built them in a way to where if I don't want to do something more modern, take out the trains, take out the monorail, I actually have a cap for the waterfall that you'll see when we get to the city scene. And so I try to make it in a way that I could use for different purposes. I'm like, I want to build mountains once as a backdrop. And really my inspiration behind this was, you remember those catalogs they used to put in sets in the 90s? And it would have the big brick built type stuff. That was kind of my inspiration of like, I want it all to be Lego. And even in that first mock that I did, I was experimenting with photography. So you get down into it and you kind of have a cool depth of field with all the layers of the forest and the plant life and all that.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's some shots like going down the road to the house and it's just all Lego. And that's what my goal was, like nothing else in the scene, like no normal house walls, whatever. And so that was kind of the dimension that I was going for. So if you took up in a city, you'd have Lego behind it as well.
Right. Well, I tell you, just also what I love about the way you think about your builds is making it so that you can multi-purpose it. Like for example, right here on the left, you can see it's very clearly a train tunnel, and you can kind of see it in the middle of the screen there where the train is coming out of the mountain on the other side. But you could make this, you just have an end cap and you just put that on and it's modular. And then, if you don't want the train, you don't need to have the train. And I guess you can see that on the left here of the second photo. I think you can see it right here. That's your little end cap, which is nice.
Yep.
And then here's a view
right
of a wider view. Yeah. And what I like about this too,
as I was going,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I think I'm lagging a little bit. Sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Naomi.
Well, I was just going to say that in this case, you put 2 different kinds of transportation through the mountain. So you have the train on the bottom, and then you have a monorail or some other smaller train on top.
Yep. Yeah. And so as I was building it, and it was getting taller, I realized I had a lot of space to the middle. So I burp build everything in here, and it's very expensive, I know, but like I burp build, it makes it a little bit lighter weight, a little bit more structurally sound and stable as you're moving this thing around. And I realized within that cavern, I had space to do a monorail. This was after the first Lego Masters, or whenever they did the monorail episode. As you can see, I kind of like roll out of my dark ages with like whatever I'm like, you know what? I should go for monorail. And so out of that, I got a whole bunch, and I was like, and I made it. The only thing I regret about this build is that I made the tolerance so tight in that cave. Like it doesn't fit anything more than like 4 wide by 7 tall or something. So I really limited. So I kind of learned from that, and you'll see that in the volcano. But it's pretty cool to watch it go through because the tolerance is super tight. It's like a really satisfying, like as it goes.
I made it work.
Yeah. It's like, how did that even fit in there? So anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And for those of you who don't know, when he was referring to burps, those are big, ugly rock pieces, which are pretty expensive. And I don't think I have a shot of it, but on the back of your volcano, I think it's all of the little ugly rock pieces, all in a kind of an interesting pattern that you were able to put it together. And I was just like, wow, you spent all that money just for the back, so the back would look pretty as well. Yeah,
spared no expense. So Jurassic Park.
You definitely spared no expense. And then here's a close up of kind of the junction point. And I have some design principles, and I think that's probably why the rock work is appealing to a lot of folks, right? Because I try not to repeat. I don't use the same slope type too much next to each other. There's like 25 different slopes you can use, and
4 different colors if you do the old grays, the old light gray and the old dark gray, as well as the new light bluish gray, dark bluish gray. And so having all those mixed together, I think creates a pretty cool effect because it gives the color dimension that you wouldn't get if you just use all like dark bluish gray. So it was a lot of fun to like create texture with color, I guess, maybe.
Well, and you also just as you go down the mountain, it gets darker, and then as you go up higher on the mountain, it's lighter. So you almost get this effect of almost like the sun changing its lighting patterns as you look at your builds, which is another thing that just fascinates me about how you build.
There's a question here in the chat. Just how many bricks are in that rock wall?
Yeah, see, that's the problem with this build. I didn't calculate the bricks. It's less than you think because there's certain parts, I guess you can't really see it here. You might be able to pick out like part of the burp, right? If you're familiar with that piece and like it kind of has a familiar pattern if you know what to look for. Maybe near the bottom it's there, but a lot of it's a facade over that. So it's not actually as many bricks as you would think. I mean, this shot, maybe it's 1,000, if that. So it's less than you would think. And so this question might come up with the volcano later. I haven't actually calculated for the volcano yet, but I kept better inventory this time. So I have exactly what I bought. So all I need to do is now count what I have left over.
What you have left over.
And I'll have but I didn't do that for this build.
And here's a perspective of the rock formation behind the city, which I saw this in person when you had it at BrickCon, I think, or did you bring it to BricksCascade? One of the two.
It was Cascade last year.
That was in 2022, and I was just floored by this. And I just kept staring at all the different trains and monorails and things, just interweaving through the city and through the mountain as well. It was mind-blowing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So once again, this would be like your childhood catalog. Obviously, this is in the 90s. This is all the modulars up through the boutique hotel, right? But it's just there with that as the backdrop and integrated, right? The monorail's going through it. And so from the height, you can see, yes, it's all higher than the Daily Bugle. I put a cap on that waterfall, so it just looks like mountains behind it, because that didn't really make sense for the scene, right? I didn't have like a river flowing through this one.
Right over here.
Yeah, right there. Yep. And so, yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. This was just called Modular City, so it was like my favorite train. I guess these monorails are technically my mock. I came up with the design and the color, and the cool thing on those was that they had both front and rear lights, which the monorails never had lights, at least not the ones I remember, for like the train lights, the front and the rear. So when it was going through the tunnel, you'd see that light kind of coming out of the corner. It was kind of cool for the dart when they turned the lights out in the hall.
Yeah, when you had the low light display. And
right.
Seeing the Daily Bugle dwarfed by those mountains, it really gives you a sense of just how large this whole mock is, both length and height.
Yep. And so similar to that other mock that I had, right? And these, obviously these are all sets for the majority, but this is the size of the tables I have in my new Lego room. So I kind of build to what I have capacity for and try to maximize it pretty hard. Like this is the edge of the table, right? Like this train is literally right next to me,
Now I have a question. This piece on the left, is that one of your end caps that happens to be on the table?
Yep. So that was kind of showing folks how I did it. So that's the one that goes on that corner behind like the Ghostbusters firehouse. But yeah, so it's just kind of showing, because I have other ideas for how to use the mountain range. Maybe I do like an Asian inspired mock with a bunch of the Ninjago market sets, right? With the new one coming out and some of that.
I'm trying to zoom in. If this is working, that's about as far as I can zoom in. So
you can kind of see the burp structure behind that. I don't know if I gave you a photo of the inside of all of it, but those burps are, 6 high by 10 wide, if I'm getting my dimensions right, 5 or 6 high by 10 wide. So they're it's a good way to build quickly. They're just cost prohibitive.
Yeah,
obviously.
I was going to say, just can you afford all those burps? Oops.
Well,
Yep, you got to, you only live once, right? Okay, so now we're getting into the volcano. And
Yes.
so you've already seen Mark's style. And now he's adding a layer on top of that of the lava. And he's also adding lighting to it too, which is super cool.
Right. So going
Here's
into this, I knew I wanted it to be really big. I did some research, and I saw the volcano from the Lego house. I haven't seen it in person, just online, but half of it's Duplo, half of it's system, right? And they have lights in theirs, and it kind of does like a pulsing pattern. And I didn't see many other things online. Tried to kind of look on Flickr. So if anyone knows of any big volcanoes, I'd love to see other ones that people have done. But I didn't have much to go on, right? I watched like a Netflix documentary, and I wanted to know what I was making that was realistic and what wasn't. So like the color of my volcano is not actually realistic for being lava. Usually those are the exploding kind. That's just like rock. Anyway, it's fascinating. You should go watch a documentary. But I knew I wanted to have lights. I knew I wanted to have fog or smoke coming out of it, just to kind of make it pop, right? Otherwise, it's just going to be a big lump of Legos, and I didn't really want to have that happen. So, and I knew I wanted it to be big with the footprint of the whole collab. I'm like, well, this is minifig scale, basically, right? If you will.
Yeah, when you brought this. And I remember I brought my mock, which is only 64 studs wide and 32 studs deep. And I'm looking at your volcano going, okay, this thing is massive. But it was a centerpiece really of our big collab, and everybody came over to look at your volcano. Everybody was so impressed with it.
And it was so it ended up being 7 base plates wide by 5 base plates deep, just to give you a sense of scale of the footprint of the thing. It had 4 different modular designs going on. I had to build it so it would fit in my car and I could carry it through doorways. That was another mistake that I had made with my other mountain. It's an L, so you have to kind of Tetris it through, which I'm like, okay, note to self, don't do that again. Right. So it has to be wide enough, like no more than 3 base plates basically to fit through, whatever. But most of them were 2 or 3 chunks. And then
it must be heavy. How heavy would you say is your mock?
I mean, the whole thing it's probably close to 50 pounds for the whole thing. Right. The big chunky middle section, which you'll see at the end, was probably the heaviest part. It's probably 35 pounds. So it had to be modular that way. It also had to be modular so it fit on my table. So where I have the computer right now for this, that's where I'll stick the volcano directly next to my city. So it had to fit with the existing train tracks. And then the third way was the train needed to be able to go through it. So you can see here, kind of off to the middle right there, that train part, which we'll see more later. But then next to it is the monorail. Right. And so I had both.
This is right here is what you're referencing, is the train tunnel.
I had to make sure it was structurally sound for a train, and then structurally sound for a monorail that was elevated above it and to the left. And to make it modular so I could fit it into pieces, right? So that it wouldn't collapse. So there was 4 dimensions that I was going through. And one night my wife was like, are you making it too hard on yourself? Could you make it simpler? And the funny story is that in our Discord chat, right, we're talking, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking I'll make a train tunnel and a monorail tunnel. If we don't want to use them, we don't have to, right? Because I had experience doing that. I knew how to build caps. I'm like, it's really easy. Not easy to design, though. But when we get to the show, right, you were there. Well, you kind of came at the end, but we were going to put it further back. And when I got there and started setting it up, they're like, okay, we're getting one of these tables. We're going to move it forward. And what that meant was that the monorail had to go through it. I'm like, well, you guys are in luck because I built it. I built it so the monorail could fit. And they're like, great. And now for the next show, they want to run the train and the monorail through because I don't know what it is about human nature, but I think a lot of people like to see vehicles go through things. And so,
absolutely.
It just gives a cool dimension, right?
And when you were mentioning, I brought mine towards the end because mine had to be converted over to mills. It hadn't been converted yet. And then when I showed up, you had the monorails all set up, and you have to duck underneath them to get in and out of the display. Right. And I ended up passing mine over to Ferg, who ended up standing on the table in order to put mine into the display, which worked out fine. I mean, it was in there last year, and the color scheme was fine, but it was just when putting this in along with the monorails and traversing tables, that was just mind blowing, and it all was solid. That was the other thing, and that's why I would always have people pass me my lab coat. I didn't want to have to like crawl under the train tracks, knowing I might stand up at the wrong time. But here's another close up of the end cap, so that you can't really see the tunnel yet. Yep. And I wanted to point out these pieces that you also use. I think these came from a Ninjago set, the one with the black and the trans orange. Here you have a couple of them here and down here. Very clever.
Yeah, it might have been, maybe it was Nexo Knights too. I know one of them that had lava in it. I can't remember which one. At first I wasn't going to use these because I was trying to do brick built stuff as much as possible versus like colored or other pieces. But once the lights are on, I think it looks pretty good.
I was going to say it was amazing.
And the folks are the people coming through, the public attendees, like it's 6 or 9 feet away, so it just totally looks great from far away. Up close, I'm still not like totally happy with it, but yeah. So you can see here. Great. This was the biggest cap I've ever built. That single big chunk. I mean, that took me a day just to build so that you could just lift it off, basically, right? And I had the great idea to put in like an LED strip that made it even more complicated. So I wasn't doing myself any favors as I was building, but I wanted to hit a certain standard of my aesthetic, and so I put in the time to do it. Maybe this is a good time to talk too about the tapering. And so my other mountains have been vertical, and with burps and the angles and the degrees that you have in the slopes that Lego provides, it's pretty steep without using like a 4x2 or a 3x2. And then that gets really, it doesn't look quite right. I actually had to redo a couple sections because the taper was too hard. You can kind of see off to the left here and really around the whole base where I basically just built horizontal. Yeah. So I just basically flipped the Lego on its side to give that nice taper that you see with volcanoes, right? Because that's the lava flow as it's come down over the years or the eruptions. So that was pretty cool. I hadn't seen that done before. I'm sure other people will have done that before, but it was new for me to try to integrate a new kind of design and style. And you can kind of see it here. One of the only regrets I have with this build is to the left of that tunnel, you can kind of see a line there. That's where, see that little line, even lower, a little bit to the left, that kind of even to the left, like no, even more, a little more.
Oh, yeah, that line.
Yes, so you don't notice it right away, but that's where the horizontal meets the vertical. If I'd had a little bit more time, I think I would have dimensionalized that a little bit so it'd be a little more jagged versus a line. You don't really notice it, but I don't mind calling out I want to improve on for next time, So,
everybody's their own worst critic. I know. Looking at this, I just think it's absolutely beautiful, and I also like how you put in just a few little snot bricks, so you still have some clutch there, but not too much, so you can lift it out pretty easily.
I also didn't notice until you just pointed it out.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. And it's funny too on some of this. So this section, so this is the big chunk in the back. This was the bowl. That whole structure you see there was just base plates 5 days before the show. Wow. And I built all of that structure. I mean, that's not hard to do. That takes like 4 hours because it's just burps, and where you see all those 1x16s, that's the monorail tunnel going through the middle there, right? And so the hard part is all the rock work on top of that, right? And it's burps and merps. I did calculate a few stats because I know people will love this, but so there's 211 dark bluish gray burps in there, and there's 255 dark gray burps. So 460 burps make up this entire structure, and then another 250 merps. So those are the medium.
You can see. Yeah. You can definitely see the burp kind of outline here.
Yep.
And you can see what I was mentioning, your lerps over here, which is
they're not lerps though. It's just a rock piece. I don't know what it's called.
Oh,
but
okay.
The lerps are bigger and more triangular. These are just like 4x6 chunks, and
you made a whole wall of that on the back facing side, which
Right.
normally when you see a mock, it looks like this, right? It looks more like the staggered kind of modeled colors, but you put all of these all the way across on the back side. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that's kind of, maybe that's one of my trademarks with this, I guess, of it. I brick built just 2x6 bricks all the way up until about 12, so you can create like a door, you know, like, and you always have an access port on these things. So that's for the fog machine and others. That's what that kind of mixture there. But then those other chunks, they're easy to work with other than they taper. So you have to calculate your slope on the backside as well, because every one is one stud in, right? So it kind of builds. But I think it has a nice aesthetic on the back versus just solid bricks. But
I love it. That's why when I first saw it, and I asked you, I said, you put all of these rock pieces here? And you go, yeah. It's like, wow, it's amazing. So here's your LED strips on the inside of the big bowl of the volcano.
Yeah, so there's a total of 3 16-foot LED strips in there. You can kind of see two different types if you look close. There's some that are spaced out quite a bit. So that was my first. I bought a strip on like Amazon, and
these here.
Yeah, you know, it's like the cheaper strip.
You have this kind.
Yep, and then those are the more expensive ones. They're the M1 Govee ones or whatever, and a little bit more expensive, but the output was like twice as much, and it was really awesome. So then I have 2 of those M1 strips and then one of the older strips. I was like, might as well use it, and I kind of just kept curling them around in the center until I used all of it, because I didn't want to waste anything. I'm like, well, the more light coming out of the middle, the better. So,
and it was tremendous, because here's kind of what it looks like both during the day and at night.
So I used 9 16x16 transparent base plates. Those are ones I think only available in the model workshops. Got them off BrickLink years ago and finally found a use for them. So those just sit on top of all that LED, and then it's just trans orange bricks over all the top of that. And using because those LED strips can do 1.5 million color variations or whatever. So use mainly colors of like red, but a little bit of blue and green. It kind of gave a cool effect. It's funny how the colors work again under that transparent orange, So then,
and I don't know if people can see it, but I think this where you had your smoke machine output right here.
Yep. Yep. There's a special little attachment that spits out the smoke in like a 360-degree pattern. So it just filled the whole bowl and just kind of went up, as you can see on the right. Yeah, it's just a little. It's funny, the 3D printed attachment is like dark bluish gray. So I was like, well, I'll just make it look like
how cool.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah. So, and then this, I remember in the Discord server, you sent this video of the steam coming up and the glowing of the volcano, and we were all just absolutely floored. And then when we saw it in person during the dim light display, it was so much fun to watch.
It's funny how it looks in photos. I think it kind of looks like real lava. Maybe I'm biased, but it's hard to believe that's Lego at first, because you're like, that looks like it could actually be on fire.
It really was a tremendous effort. And here's a look of the volcano with respect to the entire build. And you can see it was a centerpiece, and you have the monorail going through the middle, and then the train is actually to the left or right or in front of. And then next time you said it's going to go through the volcano, the train.
Yep. And I have the way I built it is that those the lava flows will show into the tunnel. So it's transparent on the bottle into the train as well. So if you look through that tunnel, you'll see a bunch of red and orange to try to make it look cool, even from that perspective. It's funny how when you start something like this is close to what I envisioned, but not entirely. I thought it would be taller, and then was running out of time. And then actually I was glad that it wasn't as tall, because you wouldn't have even been able to see into the bowl. And so at least this way you could check it out a little bit, and it's more of a flat, big oval top. And I don't know, I actually love how it turned out, but it wasn't quite what I had pictured, but I like it better. So it's kind of funny.
I think you did a tremendous job. And I think the other part that we haven't talked about is you also had sound effects too with the rumbling of the volcano. And people who were in the art section were complaining because it was so loud. But I think part of it is Davey was having a lot of fun just cranking up the sound on the volcano as well.
Well, and this is like where the collab comes together in full force, right? Because I brought this. They knew I was bringing this. One of the guys is an AV specialist who brought some of the huge electric voice speakers, and then, you know, someone found the sound, the volcano sound and other Jurassic Park stuff, and just playing it throughout the show. And yeah, it just all came together and was just so awesome to like have the power of the collab.
And you can see the train here, and you can't really see it in this photo, but there is a dinosaur on a little cart that's chasing the train. And that was a lot of fun too, to watch that. And the kids absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
I had to fix it once. It fell off the rails, and I was just like scrambling to make sure to get it back on. And I was like, see, I'm not just there to just talk to the public. Sometimes we have to fix things too.
Totally. Yeah, there's so many cool little builds that everyone did. And
yeah. And you can see Ben's gyroscope here, or gyrosphere right here too. And I can't see Tom's face, but I'm guessing, Tom, you're overwhelmed by this.
You're on mute, Tom, I think.
I was on mute. I was just saying there's a lot to take in there, but it definitely looks amazing.
Yeah. And I love this because it just shows you how the lighting of this, as a collab, we were all talking about my building. You can actually see my building in this shot. My building is right here in the background.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's my building, and everybody was talking about, okay, next year we all have to light our buildings, because it looked like we had a power outage on the island, because you can see JJ over here on the left. And this is his building on Main Street, which he did amazing job on that. And his building, I think the volcano, and I think this belongs to Dave. I think one of the ranger stations. But that was it. Most of the collab was not lit. So we all talked about it and said, okay, next year, everybody's got to go to Mills and everybody's got to bring lighting to their collab.
I would actually argue that to be authentic, you don't want lighting everywhere.
Well,
right. If there's an active volcano, right?
Well, you want your dinosaurs to be able to escape, right? So you gotta you gotta have the power out.
Well, what we were
I guess that's true.
We were talking about, like, at bare minimum, at least doing the little red light atop the cross of all the fence around the whole park. Yeah. And then you could like turn it off and like have the rumble. Like you could make it a sequence of like, oh no, the power just went out. You know, all the kids would freak out and stuff. So. Oh,
that would be fun. Yeah. Well, my building's supposed to be the veterinary services lab. So I think too, on the ground floor, you can't see it here, but I do have some laboratory equipment. So I think if it was lit up, it actually would look a lot better than it does right now. Yeah. I just haven't really done the investment of time to figure out how to do it and do it well. So that's my job before next year. But I think
it was kind of funny. One of the shots where JJ is at night, it actually looked like a photo from like Hawaii or somewhere real, because all these tourists are like milling around. There's like an active volcano in the background. It was kind of cool, like across the tables, the shot we were getting. Yeah, and JJ, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, JJ and Ferg are the two people who got me into the collab, because I pretty much asked them, you know, what is it that you guys need? And they said, we need a veterinary services hospital and somebody willing to wear a lab coat when they're talking to the public. So that's how I got into the collab, because this is probably the largest building I've ever made. And it does have like a port area for trucks. I made it tall enough so that big trucks could come in, but I haven't really invested more time in highlighting that. So I'm gonna really do much more next year. And this is a new building too. This one in the back, it's a hotel. So this one should be lit, I think, at night. This would be nice if the hotel was lit up. Okay, I think that might be the last of your slides. Yeah. So I want to just do a time check, because I was, let me stop sharing for a moment.
because I want to be mindful of your time, because we've been streaming now for an hour and 15 minutes, and it looks like I can see the chat now. Gorgeous build, yes, and it looks awesome. Yeah, I would tell you, this is the first time I've had a chance to work directly with Mark, and just seeing his process, it really inspires me to do more. But the last set of slides that I had on my little PowerPoint were really a retrospective of the years that the collab has been together. It's not too much longer. I think I can do it in about 10 minutes or so, if that's okay. But I want to be mindful of our guest time. Do you have time to go through the retrospective, both of you?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Okay. Well, I had to put your face in one of them because you aren't in any of the other photos. So it was kind of like,
I'm the new guy. Makes sense.
You're the new guy. Yeah, you're the new guy. And it was just like, okay, well, all right. So I have to go back and share again. But I just think, like I said, just being part of this collab for the last 2 years has just been so much fun. And it's always great when you see different people bringing their talents to the team. So here we go. All right, let me go full screen. All right, so here's our little retrospective. And back in January of 2019, it was 3 guys. It was pretty much just James, Bob Day, and Davey. And they went to this train show in January of 2019. And you can see the collab was just this little train area with the Jurassic Park dinosaurs. So that was the first iteration, and they're still blown away by just everything that's happened. So here's Davey again, and this was February of 2019. And this, I think, was the first time at BricksCascade that they showed the Jurassic Park build. And you can see the train that has kind of stuck around over the years, because this is the train that was part of the BricksCascade part.
That's what that's what Davey was saying. That train is what started all of it. Like that, just doing that cool tourist train.
That little train right here.
That's what started it. Yep.
And you can see that they put the gate here as well, and they had just like a little paddock. That was it. And then here in May of 2019, they went to BrickCan. And they had, I think, 6 builders. So every year they started adding more and more people to be part of the collab. And you can see some of the iconic pieces like the gate here. And you can see that it's gotten bigger as well with more trees. And the train, you can see the train right here. It's still part of it.
There's the original volcano.
I was just going to say, this is the volcano they had, 3 years ago versus what you brought. And it's just amazing to see how it's evolved. And here's the Rose City Comic Con in September of 2019. And there's always a train here. And here's that visitor center that I was mentioning that James Ritzman put together. So since, Tom, you were talking about the different pieces that are available, he did a really good job on putting together this visitor center. And then in BrickCon 2019, this is where my friend Ferg, who's right here, he joined the team, and he is the one who does a lot of the vehicles. He does a lot of the vehicles, and then he introduced Main Street is something, because if you notice that if you just look at the collab in the background, you have the visitor center and you have most of the forested areas where the dinosaurs would roam around. But there really wasn't a shopping area. And that's where Ferg brought his talent there for the shopping area for the following year. And that's 2020. And this is where I was talking about that backdrop, that we put a backdrop here to make it look like we had terrain, because we didn't have really the terrain there. And you can see how many more builders joined too. And this was 2020, right before the pandemic. In the pandemic, as you know, we weren't able to meet in 2021, but this is where I showed up and I said, oh my God, this is amazing. How can I get involved in this? And that's where JJ, as I mentioned earlier, JJ here and Ferg are the 2 people who said, hey, you bring a veterinary services building and you you wear a lab coat, with the patches on it, and you can be part of the collab. So I wasn't part of this at this year. I didn't join until 2022.
And it's crazy too. That was like one of 2 Lego conventions in the US right before COVID hit, and then everything shut down. And so it's crazy we were able to have that convention and then right before that,
So true. And all of these people, they're just amazing builders and hilarious. That's the other thing. When you come to BricksCascade and you're hanging out around the table, we're just joking around and hanging out. It's just a lot of fun. And there's me. So this is, I told you, I wore a lab coat and I wore this little bucket hat. This bucket hat actually has like national parks. I didn't even have a Jurassic Park logo hat. I just threw that together. But you can see the train again, this train, the legacy train that keeps coming back every time. And there's the main gate. And you can see that we took over this whole section. We were an island. I think this is the first time we had an island as our own part of the Jurassic Park collab. And as you can see, more of us joined. And this is the year, I think both me and Dave Morgan joined. But you can see some of the other people who have been part of the collab for a while. I should mention Kai here. Kai, he's, I believe, now 18. And he's been part of the collab, I think, since he was 13 or 14. And he's been what we call the park manager and maintenance person. And he maintains and he knows like where all of the various buildings are and how they work. He's a tremendous asset. So we don't have a group photo for the most recent one, but there you are, Mark. So imagine the previous group shot plus Mark. And I think we added one more person. And I think Kyle wasn't able to be a part of it this year, but he's been part of our Discord server. But we joke about this on our Discord server is that Kai here, as I mentioned, is accepting the award for the People's Choice Award. And we're joking with him. It's like, what? You didn't even call us up there to be there with you? He just accepted the award on his own. And I wanted to point out this sign that, since you were talking about your sign earlier, Tom, is that this sign was, I believe, from Marianne Asanuma, because this was actually considered a theme. Even though she isn't part of the collab, she brought that under the theme of Jurassic Park. But you can see, this is what I was mentioning about how the tables, you had this train crossing the table and you had the monorail crossing the table on multiple places here. So if you wanted to go into the collab, you had to duck underneath those to get into the chairs on the back.
Yeah, and if we run the train, we were talking about it, we could run the train and then the monorail pretty much next to each other, so that would help with like the limbo or the ducking underneath to get into the middle next time.
Yeah, that limbo part, I didn't even want to try. I would come in from this side over here and I put my lab coat on one of these chairs and I would just tell people, hey, pass me the lab coat, because there's my mock right there. You can kind of see it from this angle. And there's, of course, Mark's volcano, which amazing. So much fun. So, yeah, so that's our little retrospective of Jurassic Park. And I think that overall, I mean, I've only been part of the collab for the last 2 years, and it's just so much fun. I had so much fun just hanging out with everybody and learning from each other, too. Because you could see that, I think it was Daryl who did the big gondola piece, and it was working for a little bit, but then the motor, I think the gears melted together.
It ran for 12, 15 hours straight, and so it basically friction bonded some of the Technic pieces together. So it had a pretty good run for what it did,
Yeah, and I think we do have a video of that. But it was a lot of fun, just putting this together as a team. And every year it's different. You just bring your mock. And what I loved about it is that you didn't have to worry about the dinosaurs, because Bob brought all the dinosaurs. Essentially, you brought your mock, and if you had some trees, you bring some trees. And then in one year, they didn't have enough trees, so they just filled it with dinosaurs. There was just all these base plates that didn't have any foliage. So they just put a bunch of dinosaurs on there. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. And thank you so much, both of you, both Tom and Mark, for joining. And I know that I'm really excited that 30 years have passed since Jurassic Park was released. I celebrated yesterday by watching Jurassic World Dominion. And I kind of warned you about this, but I was going to ask you, what is your favorite of the canon movies of the Jurassic Park series and why? So I think I'll start with Tom because I think he already knows his answer to that. So Tom, what's your favorite of the movies?
Well, for me, it's always going to be the first one. You can't beat it. It's the one that's most accurate or most true to the source material, the original book.
Right.
And I've read that book more times than I can count. So if I had to pick a second, I would actually pick Camp Cretaceous. See,
I haven't seen Camp Cretaceous, so I have no idea. What about you, Mark? What would be your favorite of the series?
I would go with the first one for sure. I remember seeing it in 1993, and it was just like unlike anything you had ever seen before. And like the comedy, the horror parts, like it wasn't too scary, but it was just a great movie. Like it's just really great.
Okay, well, for me, it's a tie between the first one and the sixth one. And I'll tell you why. A couple reasons. One is, as you all mentioned, the first one was just mind-blowing just to talk about how this world could even exist. And if you read the book, it was very true to the book. But the reason why I also like the sixth one is that there was the crossover between the two casts, where you had, the original Jurassic Park cast and you had the Jurassic World cast, and it had a very diverse cast as well. And I just loved how they did that, and it was done in a really, really smart way. I mean, there was a couple parts, and I don't want to give out spoilers, but there's a part where they get really close to the dinosaurs, and you just think, okay, they're probably not going to make it, but one character, we're going to leave that character by themselves to fend for themselves, and we'll catch up with them later. And it's like, no, you don't leave somebody behind like that. So that would be my one little nit with the Jurassic World Dominion. And but I loved it, and I especially loved how they really did a smart job in integrating the two cast members together. So those are my top. And like I said, if I had to choose one over the other and I couldn't watch any of the other movies, then I might actually pick Dominion, just because you had all of that, all the really great characters in that movie. Yeah. And I loved the callback too of the Barbasol can. I think that was so much fun to watch too.
If you watch Camp Cretaceous, they explain how he got the Barbasol can.
Oh, okay. I will, since it's the 30th anniversary, I will watch Camp Cretaceous. I'm guessing, is that available on some streaming platform?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's 5 seasons, so you're going to be watching for a while.
5 seasons on Netflix?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, but it's even though it's made for kids, it's surprisingly good. And if you know your Jurassic Park movies, there are so many Easter eggs hidden throughout the series that you're just like, oh my God, that's from the first movie, or that's from, the third movie, or so it's great. I loved it. I couldn't wait for the new seasons to come out. I'm so sad that they've ended it.
Is it animated series or is it live action?
It's animated.
It's animated. Okay. All right. So Camp Cretaceous, I'll put that on my list, and I'll watch it on Netflix. Maybe that's what I'll do right after the show. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you again. For those of you who are new to the show, please like and subscribe to the stream. It really helps. And I wanted to thank again True North Bricks, Tom Kekkonen. So please follow Tom at True North Bricks on Instagram. And Mark, thank you also for being on the show. I know I just saw you yesterday at the picnic, and I hope this worked out well, because you were saying, do I have any advanced questions that I'm going to need? So hopefully this worked out.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Great. So living_with_minifig. So if you want to learn more about his builds and see some of them on Instagram, a really, really wonderful builder. And you're listening to the Brickanista Broadcast Network here on YouTube. And I realized that I didn't set the stream right for Rumble. So we didn't actually stream on Rumble. I was trying to do that in the background. So I'll upload it later. But if you want to, you can also send me mail to P.O. Box 87232, Vancouver, Washington 98687. So thank you again, Mark and Tom, for being on the show. When the stream ends, just hang out in the green room and we'll chat some more. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hooded One, Brick Jedi, Axel, Our Toy World, anybody who might be watching the recording later, thank you so much. And as they say on the Brickanista Broadcast Network, thank you. And may the clutch be with you. Take care. Bye.